Hey, my Legion, how y'all doing today? I wanted to go back and talk about something that I started mentioning in the Santa Clarita Diet. I want to talk to you about my thoughts on the zombie genre. Now, I was born in 1968, and that was the year that George Romero released Night of the Living Dead, even though I didn't see it till much, much later. And when I started judging horror films, my friend John Walkwood was saying there's three genres people are tired of now. And that's torture porn, like the Saw movies. And so I don't like using that word, but it's so used now. And the Hostel films. And then the found footage films. And then the zombie film, the zombie genre. Now I want to go back and talk about my personal history growing up with zombie film. Now, since zombie film started, there's two types of zombie films. There's the ones that were done before George Romero did Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead was like redefining. It's a very important horror film, but also redefining in the genre. He completely. I remember even Roger Ebert said that he reviewed. I think when Roger Ebert reviewed documentary of the Dead, or he was saying that George Romero. I think it was that one. He said George Romero single-handedly redefined the zombie film. And he made zombies like people back from the dead to eat the living, you know. And you can only kill them by like shooting them in the head and stuff like that. Now, before that, they were voodoo zombies. Like, they would be like, there'd be like a witch doctor or something like that, and they put them in a trance, and they'd be useful for like slave labor and stuff like that, or, you know, like to carry out someone's bidding. And then they could be revived by either witch doctor from Salt, you know, and it was more like voodoo legend type stuff. And then, like I said, when George Romero did it, he redefined the zombie genre. And I want to go back to the original zombie film, because I remember I knew of the George Romero films. I read something in Famous Monsters. They had like a brief overview of Night of the Living Dead. I was compelled. I said, I really want to see that. It wasn't too much later until I got VCR. I was able to see that, because they didn't really show very many zombie movies on TV. I mean, I knew of the zombie film. Yeah, I remember I bought the movie Book Dance Macabre. It had like a photo of the zombies eating from Dawn of the Dead. I knew of that. I knew that they were talking about two movies that came out at the same time, Prophecy and Dawn of the Dead. And Prophecy was like a $10 million budget movie that looked like a $2 million budget movie, and Dawn of the Dead was a $2 million one that looked like a $10 million one. And they said that while Prophecy was, I like Prophecy. I thought Prophecy was a really good movie. While Prophecy was a huge flop, Dawn of the Dead was a success, and Dawn of the Dead was a huge success overseas. It went gangbusters. That's why there was too many Italian films that did the whole zombie thing too. Now, before, like I said, before I was able to see, I got a VCR and we were able to see some of those movies. The only zombie movies that I think I remember even seeing was Channel 12 used to have the Sunday night movie. And then, this was back when TV stations used to show old movies at late at night. And not like, when TV stations started showing infomercials, that's when TV started going downhill. Those paid advertisements. Well, I remember that one thing, when I was in Fort Bragg, that one channel had like the shopping network. That was they showed all night long. They said something called Use Tootie or something like that. I don't know if anyone remembers that. Meredith might remember that, maybe. I don't know. And that was something I saw in Fort Bragg. And then I remember Paul Shaver said, Use Tootie. And then Dave Lemmer was like, what the heck are you talking about? But I mean, that really ruined TV, the infomercial. That was the start of the fall of regular TV. I loved it when the stage showed old movies. And they had like a treasure chest of movies. And then they started showing like after Saturday Night Live, they have like a late movie. And then, you know, they had Saturday Night Live, and then they had Tales from the Dark Side, and then they had all night movies sometimes too. But I remember the movie they liked to show was I Walked with a Zombie, which is a classic of the voodoo zombie films. When I first saw it, I didn't like it, but I saw it again. I really enjoyed it. I mean, maybe I was just a kid. I expected something different than what I got. But now, I mean, I think it's a classic now. It's a brilliant film now. But boy, the first time I saw it, I didn't like it at all. And I remember there might have been a couple episodes of Tales from the Dark Side that might have had, I think they had one of Eddie Bracken came back to life and he lost his nose or something like that. My dad said that was sickening. I think he was a zombie, I think. But that was done in a different way. And I remember there was an episode of The Night Stalker when they used to show that. They used to have something called a CBS late night movie. I know Dave Letterman used to make jokes saying it's not a movie, it's not a movie. But sometimes on Friday nights they'd show a movie though. On occasion they show, but usually it was like TV shows. And I guess while I was in the Army they kept playing it and they had like silk stockings on there, which ended up going to USA, I think. And they used to show like episodes of Alice and stuff late night, which is really cool watching Alice late at night. And they showed like episode of Night Stalker, and there was a voodoo one where there's a zombie, and he had to find, he had to put, the zombie was like sleeping, and he had to put like salt in his mouth and sew up his mouth so the zombie would break out of his trance. And eventually I got a VCR. I remember seeing Night of the Living Dead. I really enjoyed the film. It was very impactful. It was very scary at the time. I remember I had a friend named Dave Longshore, and he had very restrictive parents. He had like, his mother was pretty bad. I mean, you know, and he said he wasn't allowed to see R-rated movies. I said I would invite him over to watch a movie on VCR. She said, what are the ratings? Now, I remember they used to have, I guess Night of the Living Dead's not rated, but when I saw an ad for it, they had like midnight movies on, back in the good old days on Mill Creek 3, and the main movies they had for midnight movies was Night of the Living Dead, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and Pink Floyd The Wall. Those were the ones they usually had, the main ones. And with Night of the Living Dead, I remember they showed an ad and they said rated R right there, but I don't think it really had an R rating. I don't think it was rated R at all. By today's standards, it would be a PG-13, you know. But I said, you know, I said they're both PG-13. That movie and The Razor's Edge with Bill Murray, which is really good too. And he said, well, he can only see one, so he'll make up his mind what he wants to see. And he came over, you know, we rode our bikes. And I said, you want to see Night of the Living Dead? It's supposed to be rated R. And oh, thank you for letting me see it. And then he said his mother found out that it was rated R and she was pissed off at me or something like that. I don't know. It really wasn't a rated R movie, but when I saw the ad, it said rated R. Now, I knew for a fact Razor's Edge was PG-13. Well, anyways, from that, I remember Dawn of the Dead, seeing Dawn of the Dead, and then Dawn of the Dead is what, well, they had a whole bunch of other zombie movies for after, like Let Sleeping Corpses Lie and stuff, which is also called Don't Open Window, but I didn't see that till I got my DVD player, and that was one until like this century. And that was a really good one. But like I said, when Dawn of the Dead came out, the Italians really put out a lot of their own version of zombie movies, which I really liked the Italian ones too. I liked the amount of gore they had in there, and they used to have the warnings on like Dawn of the Dead saying like this movie's unrated or something like that. They said like no one under 18 will be admitted because there's some scenes that might be considered shocking. No, there's no, it's not X-rated, an X-rated movie. They used to have that warning on some of these movies. They had on Dawn of the Dead. I think they had on Mother's Day. And whenever Dawn of the Dead came out, Lucio Fulci, like a year later, came out with Zombie. And the weird thing is, and a lot of people call that Zombie Flesh Eaters or Zombie 2. In my heart, I will always call it Zombie. But then I have to say Zombie 2 or Zombie Flesh Eaters because then there was a sequel and they called it Zombie 3. You know, there's not really official Zombie 2. And the reason why they screwed it up overseas, when Dawn of the Dead came out, they called it Zombie. I remember, and then they end up having called Zombie 2. I remember talking to some people that could care less about horror films, my family. Oh, my Uncle Wayne, whenever, I remember seeing commercials for Zombie when it came out. Late at night, I remember seeing Barney Miller. They had a commercial for Zombie. The Zombie only played a week or two. At the drive-in at the theaters here, I think a week or two, maybe 3 weeks. My Uncle Wayne says, boy, that Zombie is really gory. We talking about that. He said, I think they had barf bags or something like that. This is back then, and he didn't like gore. My dad didn't like gore either. For the movies and stuff. And, boy, this is going to be a long video. I remember I didn't see Zombie till much later, and I didn't think it was as gruesome as people said. I remember talking to my one, my Uncle Wayne passed away. He used to own a thing of movie theaters. Rest in peace on my Uncle Wayne. But his one son, I remember talking to Jeff. I said, boy, I finally saw Zombie. He goes, boy, that's an old movie. It's 1979. But I remember in the 90s, early 90s, I didn't see it till a little later, 90 or 91, I heard that there was a sequel to Zombie. Lucio Fulci's movie, and then, like I said, Lucio Fulci got sick. He only directed like the first 10, 15 minutes, then Bruno Mattei took over, but it was called Zombie 3. And then that's when I found out that, you know, they changed the whole thing. But I remember talking to my family about that. They said, but I don't wonder what they called it. I wonder what they called Zombie overseas. And they said, oh, they probably called it Dawn of the Dead. And they didn't give a shit about the horror films and stuff. And that's why it's just the whole title screwed up. I still like calling it Zombie, you know. But I mean, the sequel I call Zombie 3. And then there was other horror films I found out about, like City of the Walking Dead in the 80s. It was really good. Played in the theaters. A lot of these movies played in the theaters and stuff. There was Night of the Zombies, which got retitled to Hell of the Living Dead. One of my favorite films, and one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite films. Some films I found out about later on. Oh, Dr. Butcher, M.D., one of my favorite films. Now it's retitled and called Zombie Holocaust, which isn't really true because there's only zombies partially in the movie. Basically, it's about a mad doctor on an island that has cannibals in it, which are living people, not zombies. And then they have zombies in the movie, but I mean, it's not... It's a partial zombie movie, but they have a lot of good stuff in that. That's one of my favorite movies. I remember Siskel and Ebert, I saw a thing, they had it on their Dogs of the Week, and they just called it Dr. Butcher. They didn't say MD. I mean, but like I said, it's called Zombie Holocaust now, but in my heart, I like calling it Dr. Butcher MD, and MD stands for Medical Deviant, which I think is really funny. And they had like their own, the people who released the movie, Aquarius Releasing, made their own beginning to it. Which I really like. It's not, I mean, the remake, they showed the other one. I think the original American print of Zombie Dr. Butcher MD is the best. Because they left all the gore intact in that movie. They said the only things that they cut out were like just a little extra dialogue scenes. But I liked the version. And then they direct their own little zombie thing at the beginning. I think that movie, I like the American version of that much better than Zombie Holocaust. I don't think it has the same impact as the original one. I think the original one's a lot more fun. There were some other ones, Burial Ground, which I find a lot of these were on Vestron Video. And a lot of these had like a lot of gore in it, which is really cool. Jess Franco did Oasis of Zombies, which is kind of boring. And then they did, well, I mean, Oasis of Zombies is okay, but I mean, it does have a chance to get boring. And then he did other ones like Zombie Lake, and they had Virgin Among the Living Dead, which I finally saw back in the 70s. When I first saw it, I mean, it was so edited. I saw it on, I did a review of it on Frightflix, I think, like that, and it's a really good film. I remember, and then I remember that they came back in a big way with these major releases now, and they had Return of the Living Dead, which is a great hit with a good punk rock metal soundtrack, well, more punk rock soundtrack from Enigma. I remember Devo was talking about, because Devo left Warner Brothers, and they said that they signed on with Enigma, and they said that thing really was Enigma. They said it was supposed to be the next Atlantic and A&W well, not A&W, A&M Records type thing, and it didn't work at all. That was a great film. And like I said, then right around that time, George Romero released Day of the Dead, and that was supposed to be his whole trilogy right there. Day of the Dead was fantastic. Now, I saw Day of the Dead when it was released. Now, I know it played in the theaters for a little bit. I didn't see it, but I saw it when it came out on VHS, a new release. I think it was on my birthday, on the weekend of my birthday. And I know my sister and my dad went out fishing or something like that. I wanted to see the movie, so I watched it. And I remember after watching, I had like a big piece of birthday cake. It made me hungry. But I was always hungering for more zombie films. I love the gore. You know, showing them eating people and stuff. It was pretty cool. The 80s was a great time for the zombie film. And, trying to think. What else happened? Wait, let me do something real quick. I'll be back. I need to check on something. Getting distracted. Getting distracted! Alright, everything's good. I had to check on something. But like I said, Dawn of the Dead came out. Day of the Dead came out. And I really liked the movie. And then I remember there was a movie that came out called The Supernaturals, which I didn't see till much later. I think I ended up renting it or seeing it in the 90s on Cinemax. And that was one about Civil War zombie that Nichelle Nichols was in. And that's when they were still popular, when the Star Trek movies came out in the 80s. They're popular for some of these actors came back. I remember Fangoria was really hard in the film. I remember eventually seeing it. I really liked it. I enjoyed the film. I don't know what they were complaining about so much. And like I said, around that time I went to the military. And I seen a couple zombie movies in the military movie theater. I remember I saw Return of the Living Dead came out. I remember seeing that. I really enjoyed that. And 'cause I remember going to see the movie. And I remember getting popcorn and stuff. And that guy's like, "You're going to eat during this movie? You're going to eat during this? This movie's so gross." I said, "Yep." And I had a big smile on my face. And I really liked, a lot of people crapped all over Return of the Living Dead Part 2, but I liked that movie. Fangoria hated it. I know Black Star Media hated it, but I enjoyed the film. I had a good time when I saw it. I didn't think it was, it didn't quite hold up to the original Night of the Living Dead. Return of the Living Dead. It was Return of the Living Dead Part 2. I don't know if I said Night of the Living Dead. It didn't really hold up quite as well to the original Return of the Living Dead, but I loved it. I don't know what Fangoria was complaining about so much. They complained about some stuff, but some of the movies, because Fangoria has released a couple movies that weren't very good. And then they complained about these other ones. And I remember the big news was George Romero was going to remake Night of the Living Dead. Oh, and I also saw Reanimator back in the 80s. That's like a zombie movie. That was fantastic, too. But different. I saw that at the movie theater when it came out. I really liked the remake of Night of the Living Dead, but it doesn't have the same impact as the first one did. It's completely different, but it had a lot of really good parts in it. And I like some of the twists in it and the character studies in it, though. I did enjoy that one. Now, later on, there was, let me see. There was a 3D remake of Night of the Living Dead, which I didn't mind. It was unnecessary, but it didn't bother me. Sid Haig was in it. So I didn't mind that one, but it's completely unnecessary. It was in 3D, too. And then, as far as Night of the Living Dead, they brought it back with something called Night of the Living Dead Insurrection back in 2013. I saw that on, not too many people, I reviewed that in January 2016. I saw that on Frightflix and stuff like that. That movie sucked. That sucked bad. I don't know what and then they were supposed to not that completely missed that one. That was awful. And then they had some other sequels documentaries about Birth of the Living Dead, which is really good. And a couple other ones. But But I think that Night of the Living Dead, they were trying to bring it back, and then they were going to do a sequel to that one. I mean, Night of the Living Dead Resurrected, that sucked really bad. I know I'm skipping ahead, but I want to talk about Night of the Living Dead. And they remade a couple of the other the George Romero movies. They remade, they remade The Crazies. The Crazies was good. The old Crazies was awesome, and then the new Crazies they did was really good. That was kind of a... It could kind of be considered like a zombie film too, kind of. But I mean, that was completely different from his other stuff. And then they remade Dawn of the Dead. The remake of Dawn of the Dead was really good. I liked that one real well. And then they remade Ving Rhames was in it. And then they remade Day of the Dead with Ving Rhames, and that one sucked. And a lot of people thought that 28 Days was like a remake of Day of the Dead, kind of. It was because I remember people said that they reviewed 28 Days, and they said that they liked the better one was called Day of the Dead. And there was lots of references to that movie, too. I was surprised. But I'm getting ahead of myself with the George Romero stuff. I thought I'd mention it, so I mentioned Night of the Living Dead. And after that, in 1990, with I think that kind of was like the death nail in the coffin of the zombie film, kind of. I've seen some other ones. There were some other, like Zombie Nightmare. That was terrible. And, like I said, in the 90s, there weren't too many zombie films around. Like I said, Zombie 3 came out. And I wasn't able to see that until much later. That there's a scene where it's a pretty bad movie. But I've seen far worse. But the only really great scene is there was a girl that encountered this zombie with a machete. That was cool. It's like... That scene was awesome. That was the best scene in the movie. I mean, it came out in 1991, and I remember reading about it in Fangoria, kind of. And I didn't see it till maybe 94, maybe a couple years later. But like I said, there wasn't too many zombie movies in the 90s that came major release ones. Trying to think. Like I said, remake of Night of the Living Dead. And I mentioned this in the Santa Clarita. They had like Return of the Living Dead Part 3, which was really good. And then they ended up doing two other ones like Rave to the Grave or The Rave, or they did two other Night of the Living Dead, not like Return of the Living Dead ones. They did a 4 and a 5, and those were actually pretty good, but I didn't see those so much later. I don't know if those were released in the 90s or in the 2000s. But I mentioned that, like, Return of the Living Dead and, like, something I can't remember. Oh, and they released Bride of Reanimator, too, in the 90s. That was fantastic. That was a really good one. They did Beyond Reanimator. It wasn't as good as the other ones, though, but it was okay. And that was pretty much it. And then, like I said, I was missing zombie movies back in the 90s. 'Cause I thought, like, the whole genre died out. And then they started bringing them back with a vengeance. In this new century, they had Resident Evil came out. That was a big hit. I didn't see it till much later. I did a review of my whole thoughts of the Resident Evil franchise. The last one sucked really bad. The other ones were pretty decent, but the last one was terrible. Then there was like, I remember playing the video game House of the Dead in the 90s, and then they released House of the Dead on, they did a movie I never saw it. I heard it was terrible though. What else was there? And then they released Zombieland. Zombieland is fantastic. And then all of a sudden they had all these zombie movies come out. So many so that I seen them. I said I don't have enough time to watch all these movies. I've seen ones like Severed. They had so many, and then it was just they released like it was like 4 or 5. Seemed like they were releasing a zombie movie like 2 or 3 every other month, and it was like tougher to keep up with these things because I didn't go to the video rental store. We didn't have video rental places anymore. They had ones that rent DVDs, but we didn't go there like we used to in the 80s and stuff like that, you know. And I didn't have now we have like I have all the free streaming channels and stuff like that, so that helps. We didn't have like they started switching around the digital cable. We didn't have HBO and Cinemax like we used to if they did show these movies. And then we got digital cable back. You know, I still have it now, but it was just crazy. They released so many, and I said Some I never thought I'd say. There's too many zombie movies now. And when my friend John Walkowitz was talking about people are tired of zombie movies, the movie that won last year, not in 2015, was a zombie film, but it was done like a documentary. It was really good. I can't remember what the hell it was called though. I watched it there and I watched it at John's place. I can't remember what the hell it was called. And of course, Night of the keep saying Night of the Living Dead. Well, The Walking Dead came out on AMC, and that was when my dad was still alive, and that was a huge major hit. I've been involved in that ever since it came out. That's like the cream of the crop for zombie movies. And then there's so many other zombie movies that came on TV, like Zombie, iZombie, and all this. I can't remember on the Sci-Fi Channel. So there's just too many. I haven't been keeping up with that. But I did see Santa Clarita Diet, which I really liked on Netflix. And that was a different twist on it. It's really unique to see if they can do different twists on the zombie genre now. And of course, George Romero released a couple more zombie movies. I don't know if they took them as seriously as they did before. He had a big budget one through Universal called Land of the Dead, which was fantastic. Dennis Hopper was in it. I remember Dennis Hopper was on Dave Letterman talking about that, and he was really in the movie. I don't think Dave Letterman gave two shits, because he's kind of biased on some things. He's not really big into horror and stuff like that. Jay Leno isn't either, because he was insulting like horror films before and stuff. Especially Jennifer Connelly was on, and she was bad mouthing the Dario Argento movie she did a long time ago, Phenomena, which is also known as Creepers, you know. And then she was promoting Dark Waters. No one remembered Dark Water at all, which was a horror film. And everyone remembers Creepers. That's what she's well known for that, but she don't like talking about it. And just like Demi Moore was bad mouthing Parasite when she was still with Charles Band. And there's a rumor that when she was with Charles Band owned Wizard Video. And there was an ad for the movie I Spit on Your Grave when they showed like a woman that's like half naked from the back, and they said that was Demi Moore. That it's a rumor that was in the movie poster. It's possible, but that was a rumor, and they said that wasn't Camille Keaton at all who starred in the film. But you know, George Romero came back with Land of the Dead, which is a big budget movie. That's finally the giant, huge budget movie that he wanted. Because I know that, I can't remember who, United Film Distribution wanted to give George Romero a bigger budget, but George Romero wanted to go gory, and they said they didn't want him to go as gruesome as he did. So they only gave him a limited budget, maybe $10 million. They wanted to give him a bigger budget, but they didn't want him to go as gory as he did, and he wanted to go gruesome. He wanted to make the ultimate film. And they didn't give him the money, and they said, could you imagine what George Romero would have done if he would have had more money with Day of the Dead? And finally, Universal gave him the money to do Land of the Dead, which isn't as gruesome as the other ones he did, but it was more of a mainstream movie. Great film. Universal released it, and then George Romero came back with a couple more movies through Dimension, I think. Documentary of the Dead, which is a different take on the zombie film. And really different than anything else he's done. And then Survival of the Dead, which I remember seeing. And, I think it was Richard Roper or somebody put that on their best film list because it plays better as a Western. And I saw it with my dad. And it was like, dang, this is the Hatfields and McCoys. That's all it was, but zombie, done like a zombie film. And I really liked that one, too. But like I said, if George Romero does another zombie film, I don't think he will. You know, it'd definitely be worth watching. But there's so many, I've been passing over so many zombie films. And even when I heard of Santa, and there was the one Fido with Billy Connolly, that was really good too. But just with all the zombie stuff, it's just, there's still so much. I just end up skipping so much of it. You know, there's only so much time in the day you have. But definitely kept up with Walking Dead. I love the way the season finale ended. They said some people said they thought it'd be more exciting. Because, I mean, some people complained the way it ended, but I thought it was really brilliant the way it ended. And then, hopefully next season it'll be all out war. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. With Negan and stuff. But I think it's come full circle now. I remember in the 90s, though, when I was missing zombie movies, I caught up on some of the old voodoo zombie movies. I remember seeing King of the Zombies with Matt Moreland, which was like a zombie horror comedy, which was really funny. Really funny. I don't want to get into the humor, but it was really funny. That was the voodoo stuff. I remember seeing the original White Zombie, finally, that Rob Zombie based his name of his band on. And that had Bela Lugosi. That's a classic one. And like I said, that was creepy, too. And like I said, they hypnotized a lot of these people, and they became slave labor working at the sugarcane mills, and they showed them, like, grinding the sugar cane and stuff like that. And it was really good. Those were good movies. Those were good times back in the 90s. And there was probably a couple other ones I've seen. There were some bad ones too, like Teenage Zombies, which was remade into Frankenstein Island. Those were really bad. But yeah, that's it. That was my take on the zombie genre. My thoughts on zombie. I just think it's too overflooded now. I never in a million years, back in the 80s and 90s, thought I would ever say that, because I love zombie movies. But now, I mean, it's just there's so many of them. And, you know, I just pick and choose. And I skip over a lot of them because it's just like, damn, another zombie movie. Will this be good or will it be lousy? I don't know. Unless it's maybe like a major U.S. release, it might be good. Like World War Z, I barely remember. I saw it with my dad. I don't remember it that much. I think I liked it. I thought it was alright. I don't remember it. But I hope you like this, my thoughts on the zombie genre. Because I started thinking about that. I said, man, I should do a video about that. And if I don't do a video about it, it's going to drive me nuts, especially at work when I start daydreaming and stuff. So I did a video on the Sunday. I'll probably release this sometime. Damn, 32 minutes? I'll probably release this sometime next weekend. And I hope you like this video. Until next time, bye, please. Take care, my legion. I like sharing my thoughts with all of you, too. Because when I did Santa Clarita, I said, like, I like when they try to do different refreshing takes on the zombie film. And I like what they did with that one. And even Meredith said that, I want to share what Meredith said. Well, there was a couple, let me share you a couple comments from Santa Clarita Diet. That I did. A couple people actually seen these ones. I mean, some of these TV reviews don't get huge, like 25 views, but there's lots of comments. Okay. Amber McGarvey used to live there, and she says that I don't know anything about this show, but I used to live in Santa Clarita, and all that town is bars and restaurants and food places, so if it's about a diet, LOL. So maybe that's why they called it that. And I commented, it's actually a zombie show, but done in a fresh and convenient way, LOL. So cool you used to live there. And then Meredith said, wow, really? I didn't think it was a real place, but interesting that it's mostly a foodie town. It's a diet play on words. Did you like living there? I used to live in California. Wasn't a fan, but it was definitely scenic. And Etu and you was Meredith. And then Amber said it was okay, but literally all there was to do was Magic Mountain to go out to eat. Holy crap, there was, I gotta say, in the TV show, there were huge references. There are huge references to Magic Mountain. To Magic Mountain. That's funny. Okay. And also, Meredith also commented just to me, and she said that I like this show. It's a bit on the lighter side, a bit cheesy at times. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. I said thank you. I really enjoyed it too. So I hope you like this thing on my thoughts on the zombie genre. It ran long, over 34 minutes, but that's okay. So until next time, bye please. Take care, my legion. Awesome. I really like doing these videos. There's another one for you, Ian K, when you're stuck in traffic, because Ian said he likes listening to my things like a podcast type thing when he's in traffic and stuff. Cool. And so does Eric Endorsement. He does it when he's out running and stuff. That's fantastic, man. It's so cool and so very flattering. So, all right, it's almost 35 minutes into the video, and then I know Kylie Semecki was saying she likes my movie reviews, and she says she uses them like ASMR too to help her sleep. So that's cool too. Not that I put people to sleep. Hopefully I don't, but it's pretty neat. So, anyways, take care, everybody.